Welcome to the first episode of the Frame Drop Podcast, where we cover the latest in film and video games. We're your hosts.
My 22 cents, aka Tyler.
Quachimoto, aka Moises, aka the Maestro.
Vine Monkey, aka Kenny. So we're always talking passionately about the latest in media, especially video games, movies, and shows. And we've been talking about throwing our hat in the ring for a while. And we've all tried podcasts earlier with other groups, larger groups, but we've never been consistent. So this is our full-hearted effort. Um, that's our brief mission statement there. Um, Moises or Tyler, you got anything you want to say?
I've been looking forward to this. I got some stuff to say. So,
We've been plotting mentally for so long
Yes.
that this time, that's it.
It is time.
the podcast finally made it at the group chat. Let's go.
So today is our first episode, so obviously things are a little bit different. And maybe we'll talk about that at the end. But it's also special because this is the Monday of March 31st. The Switch 2 is going to have its full reveal event on Wednesday morning, 9 a.m. our time. And we wanted to, kind of get a quick start on this and just get our thoughts out there on what we think is going to happen. So we kind of accelerated production on our first episode here, but that's what we're going to be talking about. It might be shorter than usual for that reason and others, but yeah, you guys want to say anything else before we jump into it?
What can
No.
I say about the Switch besides there's a lot to talk about and a lot to be hopeful for? So let's get into it.
Absolutely.
Let's do it.
All right, so you know what, viewers, you guys don't know us too well at this point, so we're gonna spend a little bit of time just talking about, what's Nintendo like to each of us, what the Switch is like to each of us, how we felt about the Switch era, our favorite titles, our favorite disappointments, that sort of thing. So, why don't you start first, Tyler?
Sure. I probably have the least experience with the Switch out of the three of us. I think I got it a year after it came out. And that was simply just because everyone else in my family had one. I didn't I wasn't like dying for a Switch. I was like, oh my God, please. So that's just how I initially felt. And then once I got it, what was the first game I had? I'm pretty sure the first game I had was Smash.
Real.
And I thought the Switch was cool, you know. I was still a heavy PlayStation console enjoyer. But I was just coming off the Wii. Switch was cool. I like the handheld. The 3DS was great. That's really, I guess, the driving factor for why I tried the Switch so much. Uh, that's yeah, that's it.
All right, Moises, what about you?
So while I never claimed to be a bigger, Nintendo fanboy than somebody else in this call right now,
Mhm.
what I will say is Nintendo very near and also very far from my heart at the same time, because
Yes.
it's such a love-hate relationship because so many things that there's so much that goes into this experience with Nintendo, and to be honest, it all stems from the worst franchise ever, Pokemon. But it's okay. I won't. This isn't the episode
Yeah.
to harp on Pokemon, so that story's for another day.
Yeah.
But yeah, to be honest, I didn't really have much console experience in general growing up. It wasn't until the DS where I finally got to experience like Nintendo for real through Pokemon and Pokemon Black specifically. So it was mostly from that point forward where I really became a console player. I had played through other means, other franchises before, but that was my first real console experience. And then from the DS, the Wii, the 3DS, now to the Switch. So, ever since the DS, I was on it. Definitely did not get the Wii U though, never that. But, um, yeah, I mean, you name it, I'm a fan of it. I've played it. Biggest Fire Emblem fan you'll find, and the Switch, the Switch has all of that and more. Now, is it the best of all those? I don't know. We could talk about that, but definitely have a long Nintendo experience and very excited to see what the Switch 2 can cook up for some of my favorite franchises.
All right. Thank you for that. I wanna start with my Nintendo relationship. I guess as Moises alluded to earlier, I definitely live, breathe, many other words that you could choose Nintendo. Um, and I would say, especially for you know, I'd say 90% of my life, like that was it for me. Like I, had between me and my siblings, PlayStation 2, um, Xbox 360, that sort of thing. And there were titles on that for sure that I enjoyed, but what I always would go to naturally would be the Nintendo console. The first one really for me, home wise, was GameCube. So that holds a special spot for me. And handhelds, obviously, my blue Game Boy Advance SP, like shout out, like um,
Shout out.
a lot of love for that era. Um, but so for Nintendo, like I mean, my room, everything I have, the money I've spent, like I would say that they are the largest recipient of of any income I have generated. So I think that paints a certain picture. But even for the Switch, like the Switch, when I was somebody who got the Wii U around launch. I got it holiday 2012, and I have a soft spot for the Wii U. I'm gonna be the Wii U defender here, but um, it certainly was the era where nobody else really uh, had one except for the most dedicated Nintendo fans who would have gotten it no matter what it was. so when you're talking to your friends or you're trying to play titles, it certainly suffered. Like I was a big fan of the Batman Arkham games, and the Wii U, one of its launch games was Arkham City, and that was the first. Like
Wow,
I loved
that's
that game.
That's
crazy.
crazy.
Yeah. It was a port because it had come out earlier, like a year beforehand, I think, for the other consoles. But that for the Wii U, that was one of its first. And so I spent like that was like the first Wii U game that I spent like a lot of time in. And so I remember like playing Arkham Origins. I actually my mom got it for me on the Wii U, and then I had her swap it for the Xbox 360 one because the multiplayer for that game, which is actually pretty good, they just didn't have it on the Wii U. They only had it on the Xbox 360. So I was like, all right, let me get that one. But anyways, all this is to say is I was ramping up excitement for Arkham Knight, really really excited for that, and then the Wii U, like it's well known, just didn't have great third party support. So Arkham Knight never came to the Wii U, and I would not get a PS4 until late 2017, and one of the first things I wanted was I need to get Arkham Knight because I need to play that. So going into the Switch, that was something for me that was like I wanted to be improved. I wanted greater third party support because I didn't necessarily have every console to play whatever. So if I had my Nintendo console, I wanted to be able to play stuff like that. And obviously there was the new Zelda on the horizon. There was so much, and I will say for me, the Switch one delivered on everything that I wanted from it. Did it overstay its welcome? Did it last too long? I think those are discussions we could have either now or at a later time, but it definitely delivered for me. Those first 2 years, 2017 and 2018, I think are some of the greatest years for the gaming industry, period. I think Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey, and just in the same year is just crazy to think about. And then the following year, having Smash Ultimate for me went a long way. I'm also I know I'm going pretty long here because I'm very passionate about this, but also like Splatoon 2
You
came
are the
out.
passionate one.
Yeah. um, and so for me, and 2018, like not Nintendo, but Spider-Man PS4, like those 2 years were just crazy for gaming, like just peak, peak, peak. And then if you're, Red Dead 2, like I'm not a Red Dead guy, I haven't played it, but like I just know that those years were just crazy. What I want to say is like even beyond that, I mean, like, I don't know that I would know Moises to the extent that I do, and maybe he hates the Switch for this, if not for the Switch, because I remember the first time that I actually met Moises, Will and him were playing Mario Kart 8 Deluxe in the cafeteria in the morning, and I saw them, and it was shortly after it had launched, and I went up and I started talking to them, as I would do much throughout many years, and to Moises' dismay. Um,
Yeah, chill.
so so it will always hold a special place in my heart, and the people who kind of that first year I think was really magical, and everybody who got to experience, you know, a title that will probably demand its own podcast episode for its mixed feelings amongst this group. But Breath of the Wild, like that was just I needed that. That came for me at a point in my life where I needed that because that was I don't know how specific I want to go, but that was sophomore. That was the sophomore slump, bro. So that shit came, bro, and it just like saved me. Um, so all that's to say is love Nintendo. They cannot do no wrong in my heart, and I'm looking forward to the Switch 2, very much so. So
They can definitely do
You're
wrong
playing
in my
around.
heart, though.
Yo, can you stop? I was about to say
All
that.
right, my bad.
Favorite game, guys? You want? I mean, we could obviously do this at another point, but do you guys want to like off the top of your head, maybe like a top three? I think top because I don't even think I could choose one, but I'll do top
On
three.
the Switch?
Yeah.
If it's not Smash Ultimate, it might have to be Three Houses. Fire Emblem Three Houses. But again, I don't have that many games on the Switch.
Yeah. No, that's
I
fair.
didn't play that much.
So we'll say Smash. Moises?
I didn't say that.
Okay, all right. Then you choose. Tyler, you choose.
I'm gonna go with Three Houses. I'm gonna say Three Houses. My favorite game on the Switch.
Kenny, we going? This is Switch exclusives.
Well, I guess that's a whole other topic that we might have later. But if is it a Wii U title that got ported?
Not well. Okay, the first thing that came to my mind was Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition is definitely up there, 100%. Same with Xenoblade 3.
Yeah.
Dang,
no Rex love. I thought you loved Gramps, bro.
I know I love 2, but 1 and 3 are definitely like they're just better games overall.
I'm just trolling.
Best game. All right, top 3. Fire Emblem Three Houses. See, I'm gonna forget something and it's gonna get me upset, but it's okay. Fire Emblem Three Houses. Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. That story was insane. 3. Pokemon Unite, baby. Let's fucking get that shit, bro.
All right, I'm not ranking mine, but I'm gonna say my top 3. So top 1, we already know how it is. Super Smash Brothers Ultimate. This is not ranked, but like that one obviously is gonna be in there. We all know that. Number 2 is gonna be Breath of the Wild, and then number 3 is gonna be a game that deserves its own podcast episode in a later time about my hatred for and my what's the word I'm looking for? Addiction issues with live service games, but Tears of the Kingdom. So that's my top 3. Yeah, that's definitely those are the 3 that come to mind. I like Mario Odyssey a lot. I'd love if we could talk about that, especially after Wednesday when we see presumably the next 3 Mario title. But I just felt like it had perfect platforming mechanics, and then it kind of just stopped jungle gym wise, like level wise, right when I was really like in the flow state of like, yo, this game is amazing. Like when they were going crazy in like the Luncheon Kingdom with like the forks and everything like that, and I was like, yo, like this is crazy, this is heat. Then they go to like the birds in Bowser's Kingdom. I was like, all right, we're cooking, and then it just kind of ends, and I'm like, why did we stop? But yeah, I think that's definitely my top 3. All right, so I guess everybody should have a pretty good picture of what kinds of games we like and where we kind of sit in terms of things for the Switch. But now let's look ahead at the Switch 2. So, or actually, one more thing. How were you disappointed or impressed by the Switch? Like, I guess I kind of covered that for me already. Like, I don't really have many disappointments with it outside of like I'm excited to see how much more powerful the Switch 2 is. And Joy-Con drift is obviously just like a well-known thing that people were disappointed by. I didn't really suffer from it too much, but I'm hoping that they fix that with Hall Effect. But how are you guys like disappointed or impressed by the Switch, like in general?
Let's see. I will say, I was just thinking this while you were talking. Now, this could be my personal thing, and I could be yapping. I could be talking on my rear end here, but when the Switch came out and it had the Joy-Con controllers, I was a little upset because it seemed like Nintendo was going for more traditional controllers, but I loved the Wii because of how different it was. Now they still have like that, the core like motion
gyro,
aspect. But when I got on to like, I remember playing Mario Kart on the Switch, and it didn't feel the same. Because like with the Wii, you had the big controller and you had the big wheel. That was Mario Kart was like my favorite game on the Wii. And then the Switch, I was like, maybe this could be the same, but I just don't have the same enjoyment trying to do that on the Switch controller as I did on the Wii controller. So I always just go back to like a uh standard way of holding the controls. So I guess that's like the only disappointing thing.
What is
Thinking about, yeah, I'm trying to think. I'll start with what I was impressed by. And it's something that we clown often during like directs and stuff, but the sheer volume of games on the Switch is insane. Is like, are they all good games? Absolutely not. But every game gets sent on the Switch. On that little console that you could take wherever you go, you can play a lot of games. And the
The
reason
PS
why
Vita
I even
walked so it could run.
exactly the only the reason why I even thought about that in the first place is because I didn't say this earlier, but I didn't get a Switch right away either. I got it, I think, right before Mario Odyssey came out. Cause I'm pretty sure I got it like start of October. I saved all my lunch money. I starved myself,
real?
and I ended up getting the Switch. But like Kenny had mentioned, we have our another friend Will who had it, and I just remember Mario Kart, and then one game that I never played before, and it was multiplayer, and he got it, and we played it was Shovel Knight. Bro, Shovel Knight is one of the best games I've ever played. I swear on everything. That multiplayer was fire. It was so much fun. It was like that game was so elite. So like we had so many like inside jokes during playing that it was just like, and it's like, what, this is on the Switch. There was no other way that we were gonna be able to experience that. We were broke. We ain't got no gaming laptops. We ain't got, PCs. That Will didn't have consoles either. I ain't have no consoles. I had a 3DS and that was about it. So there was no other way that we were gonna experience that, and the Switch let us do that. And that's one of the best parts about that Switch, the ability to bring it wherever you need to go, and like you get to share the experience with other people. Like everybody connecting their Joy Cons onto one Switch to play whatever Smash, Mario Kart, like that. That's an experience, to be honest.
It
That's a
certainly
moment.
is.
So I feel like that in that end, there's a lot to be impressed by, and it's multiplayer like friend elements. Disappointed. I mean, I'm not gonna go too deep into it, but one is like the visual nature of certain games, specifically my dear Pokemon franchise. You know, highest highest grossing franchise in the world, and they put out some. I'm not gonna say slop,
We'll say
but some
basura.
yeah, some things that should have been better because we have games like Xenoblades, all of the Xenoblades looking and running better on that same device with, more in-depth elements. So I just feel like certain things weren't handled properly on the Switch, but that's not a fault of the Switch. So I'm not going to say that the Switch disappointed me on that end.
Mhm.
Um but yeah, some people not using their full potential to put out some for sure fire on the Switch. I feel disappointed me a bit.
All right. So for me, disappointment, it's the word I chose, but it might be a strong word. What I what I did feel, I'll say the one thing like genuine disappointment. Between the 3DS and the Wii U, they had a pretty, and this is just like something that's so specific to me, but I think enough people might want to know this. They had a very detailed activity log. So like you could see what day you played a game, how long you played it, you could see your total hours. There was a lot of ways that you could know how much time you'd spent with the game in a very detailed way. And on the Switch, there is a more general activity log. But, and again, this might just be like a me thing, but as somebody who went towards an OLED Switch when the Tears of the Kingdom one came out, for better or for worse, but I did, and I did. Like when you get a second console, if you don't straight up transfer, like if you still try to keep your user on the old console, like I gave it to my sister or like whatever, you basically like it doesn't your Nintendo account doesn't hold the total hours, so it's actually split between. I know I'm getting really specific here, but it's actually split between the consoles, so I actually won't know how many hours total I spent with the title anymore, and I'll only know when I play a certain title and it surpasses my previous hours on it on this one, for example. So let's say I have 1,000 hours on Smash, which is a pretty fair statement for me, unfortunately. Like I will only know on the new one when I've surpassed 1,000 hours. It will start saying, oh, you've hit 1,010 because but I have to put a collective 2,000 hours on it, but it won't show that. In a similar way, for like any other game, you won't really have a good picture of how many hours you've spent total on the game. You'll know how many hours you spent on that Switch. So I'm really was disappointed by the activity log. I know that came up more specifically to affect me later, but even things where like you could go see a calendar and see what you played on what day. Like I know it's like it might sound weird, but like I kind of liked that. It's just kind of cool to see like your time with the console. Like the 3DS had a really detailed one that's in the Wii U. So and the Wii, honestly, I look back at the Wii and I could see what me and my brothers were playing in like the mid 2000s, which I just think is kind of like cool from like a archival perspective. Um, so that's something very specific and niche, I guess, that I hope they fix. Um, and then I'll say very quickly, like something that impressed me deeply was kind of what Moises was saying, like obviously the portability, but from like a Wii U user perspective, when I got the Wii U, one of the first things I did was see how far away I could get from it before the signal cut out to the gamepad. So the idea of being able to take something that you associate with like a home console experience with you anywhere, um, my brain was already searching for that at that point. So then the Switch really delivered on that, and I definitely found myself like just insanely impressed. Like, oh, I have my Switch underneath my bed playing Breath of the Wild at like 11 p.m. Like, and it's in my bedroom. It's not like relegated to wherever the dock is slash where the console would be otherwise. Like, you could just take that with you and experience the title, with minimal concessions, if any. So, I feel like those were like really big, um, you know, disappointment thingy, and also like impressed by it. One other thing I'll mention is, and again, these are like nitpick things, but I really hope that they're fixed since we're gonna start talking about the Switch too. Like themes, like the 3DS, um, the Switch is like a merged hybrid of their handheld and their home console divisions. Their home consoles didn't really have themes, but their handhelds did, and they were actually very good themes. I have a Majora's Mask one on my 3DS that I'm particularly fond of. So I think most people were hoping that they would do something like that for the Switch because they already had it kind of set up to have theme selection, but it was only between the two defaults, and then they just never did. So I really hope that they kind of come around to that, because not only is it a really easy way for them to like make money, like if they just sell them for $1, like, but all they have to do is like pack a couple assets together, like I'm pretty confident they would turn a huge profit. It's also something that allows people to feel even more deeply connected to their own Switch. Um, and I think
It
that's
personalizes it more.
exactly. And so like with people's 3DS, like they think of that like that's their 3DS, and I think the themes do a big part of that. Um, and the Switch, like you can share it amongst people, but I think as the system has gone on and more Switches have been bought, it's one of the largest install bases, best selling consoles of all time, despite what Sony keeps trying to say they found a couple more PS2s that were sold. um uh you know Most people, I feel like, have their own at this point, most people, or that's how they treat it. So if they were able to personalize it more, I think it would be really really a good thing. So I kind of hinted at some of my wants for the Switch too there, but that also kind of paints you the picture of my disappointments. Outside of that, I love the thing. I spent thousands of hours on it, especially when Smash came out. Like that was, we all know that was something for me that I really just dove into. But yeah, I can't say it was everything I wanted it to be. I feel like it was such a great era, those first 2 to 3 years, especially. And even now, in the latter years, they still are able to surprise us, in at least my opinion, and impress us with software. Like, I think having something like Super Mario Wonder come out as late as it did is just insane, or even something like Tears of the Kingdom as well. And then that might not be a commonly agreed point for the call, but I think Mario Wonder could be, having like leveraging older titles and remaking them or remastering them at the end too, like not just new things, but like Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door. That game on the pre-owned market was like over $100. So the fact that they came back and were like, here, like we know that we can put this game out and people can experience it and they're gonna like it. That was cool. Same with Super Mario RPG. So I went on for a while there, but Love the Switch. That's the 3-word version. So now let's move on. Let's talk about the Switch 2. We got just tomorrow night, and then in that morning we'll know a lot more about it. But right now, what are you hoping for with the Switch 2? What are your deal breakers, and what are your predictions? And I have a little more specific towards that later. But Tyler, why don't you take us away?
Let's see. What I'm looking forward to for the Switch 2, I guess I'm not looking forward to much in terms of what the console can do. I'm looking more towards the games. Like, I want games that are gonna draw me to use the Switch 2. Because, like, Kenny, you're big into like the specs of the console, like what it can do, what its like full capabilities are. I'm not as much into that as I am into the like, will I just have fun or will I just enjoy the experience of playing the games? But a big part of that is, what are the games that are bringing me to play this console? So, I say this probably every week. I said this before we just started talking on the podcast. Give me a Kid Icarus game, and my money is Nintendo's day one. That's really all I got to say. That's my biggest point. I love Kid Icarus. Played that on the DS. Such a good game. I don't know why they've just completely not cared about that franchise. Mario can get 50 different types of games. Mario Tennis, Mario Golf, Super Mario Brothers, Mario whatever. Like, but you tell me we can't have another good Kid Icarus game? Like, this is kind of ridiculous. I'm sorry, but yeah. What else?
Like, are you gonna get it for sure? Like, what if you aren't going to
That's
get
the
it?
thing. It's not a for sure thing. I'm probably gonna wait again. Because I'm not gonna just get it to get it.
Yeah.
I need to get it for a
That's what I'm
reason.
here
Like,
for.
there's got to be something. Yeah. Yeah, you're gonna get a day one.
Yeah.
You're gonna tell us all your complaints,
Yeah.
why the Switch one was better, and that's what I'm predicting. That's my prediction.
Okay. Let me put it
Switch
like this.
2, scary.
What would be? I mean, maybe it's not a great way to phrase it as deal breaker, because it's maybe like kind of what you said. Like, what's your I'm getting my credit card out moment? Is it like if they announce Kid Icarus and it comes like within the first 3 months and it's a full scale title and it lives up to, a fair estimation of what you want it to be? Would that be something that makes you pull the trigger, or would you still wait? And is there anything they could do? Like, if they're
You're
like,
saying to get a day one if they announced Kid Icarus within the first 3 months?
yeah, if they're like in the first 3 months we're gonna have a new Kid Icarus title, a new Mario Kart. Like, what would be like the collection of releases that would need to coalesce for you to be like, I'm getting that as soon as I possibly can? Like, they're like new Smash, like whatever it is. We'll get to that later.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah. A new Smash would, out of like, let me give you the 3 games.
Okay.
Mario Kart, the new Mario Kart game. If that is really good, I mean, I love Mario Kart. If it's really good, it'll be a consideration. Okay.
Okay.
I'll have to check my funds when time comes. But if the new Mario Kart is great, I'll consider it. If there's a new Kid Icarus, I will wait until Kid Icarus comes out, see the reviews. If they're talking about Kid Icarus, just as good as the old games, this is a 9.5, 10 out of 10 game, I'm getting it. Okay, I'm gonna get the Switch too. I love Kid Icarus. Now, if there's a new Smash, I don't need any reviews. I don't care if it's dog water. I could, if they announce a new Smash, my card is already on the table. I'm sorry, my card is already on the table.
I like that energy.
I hate that energy.
One final question as a follow up, because I know Tyler pretty well. At least I know who he plays in Smash, and I know his general Nintendo
Yes,
related
sir.
taste. If they announce new Punch Out game day one, would that do anything for you? And it's like a fully fleshed out.
I'm gonna be a developer on the game. What are you talking about?
Okay, all right. I just wanted to ask.
Yeah.
Yeah. So All right. So it sounds like for you, like again, you're not really like concerned about the hardware. You're pretty happy with what the Switch does. You'd want it to be obviously more powerful, but that doesn't matter if there's not the games there
Yeah, yeah,
for
yeah.
you. So that makes
Exactly.
sense. I mean, we'll save it for a different episode, but for me, I have my play Spider-Man Machine 5 over there, and I feel a little bit I have an interesting relationship with that console for sure. So I can kind of understand that. Um, I would love. Yeah, we're gonna get into the PS4 transition PS5. That's gonna be an episode for sure. Because I could go off for 3 hours. But Moises, what are you hoping for? What are your deal breakers? What are your credit card day ones besides me beating three houses?
Facts. So to give some insight on me really quick that's relevant to this conversation, streets know that I won't buy anything day one. I will wait until a
That's not true.
90%
That's not
sale
true.
until it's free 99 for me to
That's not
get
true.
something.
That's not true.
All right, what's up? To give
You
me an
bought
example.
Spider-Man 2 day one.
Okay, no. There's examples. There's few exceptions, but
Wait, wait,
for
wait,
the
wait, wait,
most
wait,
part,
wait, 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 wait.
yeah.
But we're saying if you
Did
can do that for
Moises buy? Wait,
Spider-Man,
hold on. I just want to give Moises a chance. I'm trying to remember that day because it did not happen that long ago in my mind. It was yesterday in my mind. Did Moises buy it and somebody else, I'll leave out a naming, pick it up for Moises, or did that other person buy it from Moises as well as bring
Yeah,
it to
it
them?
was a birthday gift. As in,
Okay.
it was like, yeah. So it was
Would you have bought it anyways?
uh,
I think you would.
probably.
I think you
no,
still would
he
have,
would have.
but
No, he
yeah,
would
yeah, I think you
have.
still would have.
You would.
I just think you still would have,
Listen,
but
okay, hold on,
But we're
yo,
saying, is
chat,
there any game like that? Is there any
chat.
game like that for the Switch too?
Hold on, let me get to it, man. You messing up my flow. All right,
My fault. My fault.
so okay, because I want to make it because y'all know me. The thing is, you try to make it. Yeah, there are like Last of Us 2. I bought day one.
yeah, so did I. That
Right,
was
Okay,
great.
Ghost of Tsushima. I didn't buy day one, but I bought it
but you will
earlier
buy the
on,
next
and
one.
it's yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Ghost of Tsushima 2 day one or Ghost of Yote. Sorry, but
Kingdom Hearts 5, day one,
yeah, absolutely.
25, whatever it is. Yeah.
For the Switch.
But I am known to I'm a penny pincher. I wait for sales. I don't buy stuff. Like I will wait. I didn't buy a PS4 until like the last year and a half before its life cycle. Like I'm not really someone that's like I'm not a FOMO type of person. Like I will wait until the time is right for me to do something.
I'm a FOMO person.
However, there's a couple of situations where, especially with the Switch 2, that can change that. First of all, I already made a deal with Kenny. He beats three houses.
Before
I'm putting my order in. The order's getting put in. The
Order getting put
card is
in. We're going on
there.
the line together. If you're
We're
out of
going
your
on the
yeah.
line.
Yeah,
We'll go
catch us on
camping.
Twitch. We're gonna
We'll
watch
go
Kenny
camp on
play.
the line. I'll have pepper spray in my bag. Like it's not a joke.
You need Axe
If
body
Kenny
spray for that line too, low key.
for sure.
From what
But
I heard.
that's
From what
if Kenny commits,
Mhm.
which debatable.
Well, remains to be seen.
However, expectations. Let's start with expectations, and then we'll go on from there. Expectations. Switch 2 will be the console where it's not fair that Zelda gets Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom. We got God of War Ragnarok, Spider Man 2. I know, like, not every game is going to be on that level, but I need this new generation of the Switch to be putting out some fire original titles. The next Fire Emblem game needs to be elite. Better than Three Houses, better than Engage. The next Pokemon game, Lord have mercy. I'm praying every day for a good Pokemon game. Lord knows. Every day and every night, I send my wishes. Xenoblade, I don't got to worry about. They put out fire every day. Like Monolith saw, they put out fire every day for Xenoblade. So my expectation is that any of the games and of any of the franchises that I hold dear to my heart, they're gonna elevate themselves. Now, not just because it's the Switch 2, but also because, come on, like we gotta put out better than we've been putting out. And that's just my personal thoughts. That's what I'm really hoping for. I'm an in between Tyler and Kenny when it comes to hardware. I want the things to look better. I'm not too knowledgeable about it all, but I want things to look better than they do. Obviously, like I mentioned, I've had the experiences with Pokemon where the game looks like absolute buns, and it doesn't take a biochemist degree to know that the games look trash. And there's other games on the console that do more intense things and look better. So I'm really hoping for just a change in perspective on how these big companies make games like that, specifically Pokemon. But hopes, obviously, new entries in all my favorite franchises. Hoping to continue to explore new franchises on the Switch, see what they got cooking up. But deal breaker. Let's talk about a deal breaker right here. As I've already expressed, I'm a penny pincher. So we can talk about price in a second as well.
Oh yeah.
But I'm going to be honest. If the Switch is like $450, I'm not buying it.
Okay. Okay.
450
a
is
lot.
pushing it.
Okay.
Like 400,
I think 400.
we can
We'll talk about it in a
we
minute.
can we can discuss 400. Because if the original Switch was 300,
I
Switch
could pay
2,
for
I
that.
mean, we'll have to see. Like, I mean, what really could be worth $100 more? I don't know, but we can discuss that. 450. If they show me a 450, Kenny, I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be very, very disappointed. Nintendo's a very, very naughty boy if they pull out 450.
Yeah, I'm worried with like. I mean, I'll try and keep it as like relevant to the pod as possible. But like with the price increases on general parts and export import stuff that's going on, that they might feel they need to, or they might be emboldened to. But I'm hoping they don't. I mean, I can just speak from like a very side tangent of GPUs. Like GPUs right now, manufactured by the same company that's going to produce the system on a chip for the Switch 2, as well as they did for the Switch 1, Nvidia, they're going up by like 25%, 20%. And these are things that are already like $1,000 going up to like 1,200, going up more than that, much more than that. Ones that are like $2,000 going for like almost 2,800. Before they get scalped, they're getting marked up that high. And there's more like minute detail there to talk about, but not now. I, in my heart of hearts, I still think, and we can get into it deeper in a little bit, I still think 400 is going to happen. But before I go deep into my own deal breakers points, do you have anything else you wanted to add?
I think that's about it.
Okay. Something I want to mention before I really jump into it. I think, and I could be wrong here, I think I'm probably the most like, I was at least the most like Frame One Smash Bros fanatic. Love Masahiro Sakurai, one of my personal like heroes. Gave him a shout out in my yearbook quote. Like I love that guy. Like I love Smash. Stuff has happened within the Smash community and larger areas that have kind of pushed me away from it because it's just like, yo, what's going on? But I still love the game and the series a lot, obviously. Um, but what I really mean to say is, even with that all said, and how people in our group, people not just on this pod with us currently, give me, oh, Kenny's just a Smash Bros fan, blah blah blah. When Smash Ultimate came out, everybody was buying the Switch in our immediate circle. Everybody was going for it. That like winter 2018. I mean, I'm sure you all remember quite well. Everybody was on that. So, I think for not just us, but I feel like for a lot of people, it is Mario Kart and Smash. I feel like are just going to be like for the average person the deal breaker. For me, like we kind of alluded to earlier, and I've mentioned throughout, there's no deal breaker for me. I'm getting no matter what. Like in my mind, like that's happening. Like it's been happening for 8 years in my mind. That's been happening. Whatever it is. So, but like what I want, what I expect, what I hope for, look, man, I remember like time passes so quickly now that I can't even get like too tight or wind myself up about it. But I remember that painful year of when the Switch was out and Smash was not announced. And they all remember it well in this call. I would pull up every single direct. I'd be like, this is going to be it, guys. This is going to be it. This is going to be it. Like, we're going to hear about Smash. And finally, I was right. I was right in early 2018. I said, I really feel it today, guys. It's going to happen. And then lo and behold, it finally did happen because, if you keep guessing, it's going to happen, is what Moises would say. But it did happen that day. So I am very, that's something that would make me really excited. Um, what I have a list somewhere else that or that I can get to later, but just trying to keep it more general for now. I'm hoping that um again I like to like learn about technical specifications. I like to be knowledgeable about it as much as I can. But I for a target, I just want each title to hit 1080p 60 with no drops, no dynamic resolution needed below 1080, no significant frame loss. Um I that's kind of what I want, both in handheld and in docked. Now, would I still accept 720p 60 if the screen is 720p, but I'm pretty sure the screen of the Switch is going to be 1080p? Yeah, I probably would. I think it's going to be a 1080p screen, and if so, it should be 1080p. For docked, I'm not a 4K person as of this moment for, I guess, a couple reasons, but the main one is just like budget because it's still really expensive to get into 4K, even though they've been pushing it in the gaming market since the PS4 Pro in like 2017, 2018. I feel like it's still not widely adopted. Um, but the Switch 2 would be the thing that makes me adopt it. So it would be great if using the magic of DLSS, which I think people are underestimating, that's going to be the magic of this like console. That's my prediction. Like DLSS is going to be the magic, or Nintendo's own solution of it is going to be the way that we start to see really impressive things happen. Because when you have the form factor that you do with the Switch, you're constrained by like a physical restraint of like you can only have so much in that small form and generate so much heat and maintain a certain battery life. Like those are like what's working against them. So I think that DLSS is going to be something that really carries them far. But yeah, I really hope 1080p. I will take 1080p 30 FPS. I'm really not like a I'm not a hater here. Like I'll still play it if it's not that, but I just think that's where we should be at now. Like I think 1080p 30 as like the worst case scenario should be where we're at this point. And not 1080p native, like 1080p with DLSS. I use DLSS. I think it's great. So I'm totally good with that. Um Anything else? Like I'm gonna say like I'd love if there's a new Zelda. I'd love if Smash is announced. But like if they're not announced, I'm still gonna get it, and I'm not gonna be that thoroughly disappointed. I think Smash is guaranteed within the first 2 years. If it's this year, that would be something that really surprises me and impresses me. Like that it's kind of ready out the gate to be announced because they didn't do that last time. But yeah, I don't think so. So uh yeah, really no true deal breakers. I'm hoping that there's uh oh, I forgot to mention earlier one of my other disappointments, real quick. Miiverse. Miiverse was something on the Wii U. I actually liked it a lot. It was just a cool way for a very like Nintendo social media thing, and it was silly. It was weird, but it was Nintendo, and it was cool. And I think it would be great if that came back. So I hope that comes back, and I hope that like messaging and voice chat are integrated a little bit better. Here's the thing. No pun intended. Here's the thing. Like I think people are still going to use what they're using anyways. So like I think we're still going to probably use Discord primarily, or most people will just use Discord still instead of using whatever voice chat is inside of the console. I don't think that Nintendo necessarily is going to get the native Discord integration that like PlayStation and Microsoft have. Not that they couldn't, but I don't know if they want to. Um, so I don't know how much it would affect me on a voice chat level, but I think there are a lot of kids who maybe they want to play with their friends, and it would be great for them. Um, I hope for like something like I play a lot of Splatoon, assuming like it would be good for that to be able to coordinate with teams better. Um, but really, I feel like with messaging, like that would be great. Like even if we're not talking to each other like over the voice of using Discord, but just like messaging your friend, like that's cool. I think those are features that would just be like great to have. And I would love if they're there. So in a general sense, that's what's up with me. I'd love at this point. Now we're getting a little more into the details of the nitty gritty. Start talking about, like Moise mentioned earlier, price, release date predictions, some of the bigger ticket things that are being talked about, like the C button. What is it called? What's it gonna do? The mouse feature. Yeah. So I guess I want to start off by let's start with price, and then we'll talk about release date, and then we'll get like more nitty gritty. So price, I think $400. It's what I thought for a very long time. After the OLED was $350, I think much more than that is pushing it. Like 400 is already a diskless PS5, so I know that they're not the same thing. They're not shooting for the same thing, like in terms of like the power wise or anything like that. But at the same time, I feel like Nintendo has always been the affordable option, relatively speaking. It's always wanted to be. It's always positioned itself that way. Like this is what families can get, and like they don't need to break the bank to get it, and you can get really quality titles with it. Like they've never, like we've mentioned a couple times, they've never like they're never going for like we want to like ray trace every individual wave in the whole overworld, and we want to make sure that you feel the mist that hits Link when he like they don't, that's not what they're going for, right? Like that's, and I don't want them to. They're going for very stylized, pleasing art direction and fun games. It's like Reggie always said, if the game's not fun, why bother? So with that all said, like I don't want them to dance up towards where Sony and Microsoft currently are, but I think like inflation wise and whatever, and just with how they priced the OLED, like, and that those haven't had price cuts. That's what I think. That's where I think it sits. Um, but yeah, I'm going 400. Tyler, Moises, what do you guys think?
What our
I
predictions are, or what we want it to be.
I guess both. Like I think 400, and that's also what I mean, you could just say want it to be is kind of interesting because we could just say we want it to be $100, right? But that's not really going to happen. So I guess like
Yeah.
where you expect it to be, and like if you're displeased by where you expect it to be, I think it just rubs me the wrong way because of like Series S and discless PlayStation 5 being close to it. I always want Nintendo to be under them, because it really makes it clear that they're not trying to like destroy anybody's bank. But I think that the Series S is pretty competitive pricing because I mean, I don't know how it's doing sale wise, but even when it goes on sale, it's like 200 sometimes, I think. And like the PS5, without the disc is 400. I think that's, a decent amount. Anyways, what do you guys think?
Um, I'd say 350 to 400 would be the sweet spot for me. That's about 1.5 of my paychecks, so gotta do a little saving. But yeah, but 400 is like the best I could hope for. Probably what I expect as well. 450, pushing the other consoles ranges. I just don't feel good paying the same price for a Switch as I would for a new PlayStation. Something just feels wrong there. I feel like I'm getting robbed somewhere. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but yeah.
No, I think definitely with how they've positioned themselves in the market, that feels wrong. For sure. Like just from like a user or a customer perspective. And what's weird is like the Switch didn't feel like the Switch felt relatively like affordable for where it was when it launched, and the PS5 for me rode the line. So like the fact that I don't know, yeah, like I agree with you. Like something feels a little weird, so that's why I don't think it can be more than 400. But if with the way the OLED was priced, I just think it can't be much lower. And mm, I think 375 exists somewhere in like a mirror dimension, but I think we're 400. Moise, what were you gonna say?
no, I was just gonna say my what I would want. Obviously, again, I really want it to be 400? No. But in terms of what I want and what I think is reasonable, combining them into both, I think 400 that would be like I would pay 400, which is to say that even do I think Eva Switch is worth $400? Not necessarily off the top of my head. However, like I could still fathom that price, and it's probably what I would expect if it's such an upgrade from the original Switch. Then 400 sounds reasonable to me. However, for some reason, I have an inkling that with today's economy, I don't know.
Yeah.
Nintendo might be reaching that 450, and to be honest, that would not be a vibe.
Yeah. No, I'm worried with the what's going on in like in that sense too, that they might feel like, oh, we need to or we have, but I really hope they don't. Um, all right, so I guess we all are kind of hovering around that 400. Like that would be like the most they could push it. Where like we may not be like smiling, but we'd still feel like all right, like that's okay. But yeah, I think more than that is just too much. I still think so. 399.99. They need to have a three on there so that people feel like it's 300. But
Yeah, exactly.
um, yeah. Oh man, it sucks to think about that. All right, release date. here's where we're gonna start getting into some more passionate predictions. I think it came to me in a dream, so I'm still going with it. May 22nd, 2025. I think that is when the Switch 2 is going to launch. And if not, if I am wrong, I would say June 22nd. For some reason, the 2-2 repeating, given like the whole 2 minute, 22-second trailer that they had for in January, and there was a few other twos that they used in there. Like I just in my mind, I'm like May 22nd. Like they want that in there. Like I just feel like they want it. So my subconscious crafted that, but I'm gonna go with May 22nd. What about you guys?
Let's play a game. Let's say if it's either of those 2 days, um, we'll tell you that you did a good job. If it's neither of those 2 days, you pay us each $200.
No, that's diabolical, bro.
I kind of like that.
Nah,
Tyler,
chill with that.
that's why you're here, bro. You're the idea man, bro. Come on.
Yeah. Release date, I really could not know. So I'm gonna take a guess. What like let me get into the mindset of thing Nintendo Japan. Okay. What am I looking for? What's the best time for my console, which I'm promoting mostly towards kids and family? When will they most have the time to buy the console and experience it? That's got to be somewhere. You said May 22nd.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a bad date. That's right at the start for a lot of people of the summer. What do you know what day of the week that is, or is that just a random day?
I think I checked afterwards, and I
It's a
think it was a
Thursday.
Friday.
May 22nd is a Thursday.
May 22nd
I'm still
is a
going with it,
Thursday.
though. I'm still going with that.
I'm gonna just go. I'm gonna go June 1st. Actually, no, I don't like June 1st. I'm gonna go June 2nd.
For reference,
Actually, is that a weekend?
You could check.
Let me look at the calendar.
For reference, the Switch 1, and I did get a Switch. I didn't bring this up earlier, but I did get a Switch on release day. Was March 3rd, 2017, which was a Friday. So Nintendo's like game release schedule has kind of like changed recently. I forget exactly what it changed from to, but it was either from like Fridays to Thursdays, I think they did, or like Thursdays to Fridays. But I'm still gonna say May 22nd. I really feel like that would just be like a good date for them.
Okay, then I'm gonna go 2 weeks after that. I'm gonna say June 5th or June 6th. That's a Thursday, Friday.
I think that if I get the May 22nd right, that Moises should call out no matter what to go on the line. And if I beat three houses. Anyways, continue.
Okay, so on air, I agree to that. If it comes out May 22nd, I'm calling out.
All right. Sweet. All right. Anyways.
I was gonna say if you get either of those dates right, Little Caesars on me. But the thing is, that's probably just gonna happen anyways, because when the Switch comes out, you know the vibe. We gonna be playing Mario Kart while our boys are elsewhere. So you know the Little Caesars gonna come. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yes. Sir.
But
how much is a little podcast episode? How much is Little Caesars these days, bro? It was $5 in March 2020, bro. How much? We'll figure that out later. Anyways, continue. My bad.
Before even hearing either of you, I was like, June to me sounds like the perfect time. Like, so that's summer for everybody. Like everybody at that point will be finished or aka me finishing anything school related. So I feel like June is the perfect time. I'm gonna give it, if I'm looking at the calendar, Tyler, when did you say?
I said June 5th or 6th.
June 5th or 6th. Yeah, because late June is too late. I'm gonna be all right then. I'm giving the 13th. Friday the 13th. I think that's
watch a board game that day.
What happened?
Tyler, what'd you say? I'll say mine second.
I said. Wait, what did I say?
I said
short-term memory loss.
I said, don't you think that that they'd be superstitious about that? But I don't know what Tyler said.
I mean, maybe, but like June for me is like it feels for sure. May, I mean, to be honest, hearing that the Switch came out in March, like I completely forgot about that. That's kind of crazy to me. Like March is really just mid nowhere,
That was so real to me.
Ra-
Yeah.
random ass release. Oops. But anyways,
It was a good pick me up.
um, it was. So maybe a good May pick can happen, but. I feel June. I'm gonna say June. Fine, I'll say the 12th to avoid the 13th.
All right, so
Look, oh, I remember what I said. I said Friday the 13th. What if they drop a horror game on release?
Bro, that'd be
Luigi's Mansion
gas.
4, that'll be fire.
Oh yeah, real horror games.
Hey, the original one terrified me. I'll say that much.
Yeah.
But
Everything terrifies
that's
you,
true.
buddy.
That's true. We can't cover it on this podcast, but when if we ever talk about the Resident Evil franchise, we'll get to talk about the Maiden demo and my walkthrough.
We'll get there. Don't worry, time will come.
Um, oh man, I kind of forget what I was gonna. Oh, I was just gonna say in my mind, like a console release before the Switch One, a console release in my mind, and I don't know if this was really based on much, but maybe like PS4, Xbox One, even though I wasn't like too. Yeah, I think it was. It was like a November, like right before the holidays, sort of thing in my mind, like because I think the Wii U also launched in like November, and so I was like, oh, like that's when they launch. But then the Switch happened, and I don't really and I think the Wii might have been in November launch too, but I don't know. Anyways, I thought that was like the rule, but clearly it's not. So, um, and I honestly think, and I've seen people say this, like if they release it earlier in the year, like the initial demand is almost going to be like impossible, even though they said they've taken measures. It's almost going to be impossible for them to like keep up with. So if they release now, or the earlier that they release, the more time that they have to kind of sell to the people who are going to buy it no matter when it drops and get supply in check before the people who buy it the holidays are there, so that if they, it gives them time to basically figure things out for the holidays, because a lot of people only buy around then, so you don't want to have them fighting with the people who would have bought it no matter when. So I think that's the argument I've heard for why they release earlier in the year than you would think. But yeah, I'm still sticking with May 22nd, maybe June 22nd, but I really think the 2-2, they want that in there. I think they do. So that's my prediction. And then that covers price and release date. There's a few other things we do want to cover. Let's start with the mouse. Is there they showed it off a little bit in the January teaser. It's not, I'm sure Wednesday is really going to be where they like get into it, but I think it's a fair assumption to say that you're going to be able to turn your Joy-Con on its side and use it as effectively a mouse. I'm really excited about that for a variety of reasons. As somebody who uses keyboard mouse as their preferred way to aim with like shooters and stuff like that. But I know not everybody does that here. I think I'm actually the exception. I think Moises and Tyler both use controllers predominantly in their shooters.
Yes, sir.
For me, with something like Splatoon, I was that way for a while, but once I finally got over the motion control roadblock in my mind with the release of Splatoon 2, I just have loved motion controls and never gone back. So it'll be interesting to see how I end up playing Splatoon 4, if mouse functionality is supported in that, but I'm really looking forward to it. What do you guys think? Is the mouse thing definitely going to happen? I think it is. Or are you even excited for it? I know, Moises, we were talking a little bit earlier about this in the day, but what do you guys think?
A mouse for the Switch? I mean, that's just peculiar.
It's exactly like Nintendo, to be peculiar.
It is like I will say, that is their track record to do things that consoles don't usually do. So yeah, I could see it happening. Would I use it? Probably not. But I could definitely see it being more likely than not that they release with the mouse.
Look, let me get into a fake mini rant. I'm not trying to take too much time, but here's my thing. Because, like you said, Kenny, we were talking about it earlier, and everything you said makes sense. Like it does. But my main concern is if it's a feature, now that means games on the Switch are going to use that feature. And how they're going to use that feature, I'm afraid of. Because if it becomes like a predominant part of how you play the game, like I'm just thinking about it. It's not even the fact that it's a mouse. I'm thinking about it. You're on the go. Like you're not using the mouse. You're not gonna put the mouse on your knee and start you like that's not really a vibe.
I agree with
Like
that.
so like you would have to be at home, but even at home, you what do you normally play the Switch on? You go on the couch. It's not a PC. You're not at a desk. Usually, I know you would be Kenny for the
Yeah,
most
yeah,
part,
yeah. That's I
but
play using a monitor, but the average gamer does not. I know.
not. So you're telling me you're sitting on the couch and that, now you're using the Joy-Con mouse on your couch? Like again, to me, the concept is weird. And you were saying for a lot of things, there's like more precision to be had. But here's the thing: most of those games, first of all, I'm not gonna lie. You using a mouse, me on a Fire Emblem menu, like it would be a decent race to see who gets to what they need to get to first. To be honest,
Okay.
because like I'm used to moving quick with it now. Obviously, that's exaggerative, but that's to say I don't know how purposeful it will be. Maybe for Splatoon, the MNK vibes is about to be crazy,
Yeah, no, that game's about to
but
pop off.
but I feel like for most other things, it's not really relevant except for slight like time loss. And I'm afraid of how it might be incorporated into other Switch games and stuff like that. So do I think it's gonna happen? Yes. I feel like it's all but confirmed at this point. Like we've been seeing patents and all this stuff. Like
Yeah.
it's happening. Do I care about it? No. Would I really use it? Probably not because of all the environments I would be in playing my Switch. I'm never going to use the Joy-Con as a mouse. It just doesn't make sense to me for my usage.
Mhm.
And then again, it just depends on how it's implemented.
Fair enough. Random offshoot prediction. I really hope that they do the silly like you remember they did like the ice cube for the HD Rumble when they showed it off. Like
Uh-huh.
I hope that they do that again with whatever HD Rumble is too because when you were talking about like putting it on your leg, the mouse or whatever, doing something like that just brings to mind like them doing those like videos showing the tech in ways that like almost never get used by most people or whatever regardless of how cool or impressive the technology is but yeah I will say this I will say for me in my like I try to think like Nintendo and I don't know if I do a great job about it I think I do with my May 2024 prediction I'm going to show off in a little bit but I do try to think like from their perspective as best that I can like what do they want to achieve what's going to make them stand out blah 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 stuff like that so they kind of I'm not saying that like other companies didn't have their own stabs or like they weren't slightly like whatever, but Nintendo kind of popularized and just created this like gaming um handheld market but not just like with like DS Game Boy stuff. What I really mean by that is like like a powerful the idea of having a relatively like powerhouse in your travel scenarios was kind of like was them like with the Switch like that was what it was and so then you see like Steam Deck and you see like Legion Go like all these other like versions that are all clearly informed by the Switch coming out and so I think Nintendo needs to do not needs but I think they want to at least try and like make themselves stand out once again not only just through power because I think with having DLSS in there and a good relationship with Nvidia they are actually gonna stand out against most of them power wise, but also from like a user perspective, what they're trying to achieve. So the Steam Deck has like these weird like touchpad things on them to try and like emulate mouse input in a mobile environment. But for the Switch, what I think about is all right, everybody thinks about okay, you have portability and you trade off precision and power. So it's not as powerful. That's what people say. Oh, like people make jokes about the Switch's power, like at times, right? And we've even brought it up here, like, oh, the Pokemon games didn't run that well. Although we mentioned it's probably more of a software side thing. But like people think about power and they think about precision being traded off. Oh, like whether it's through the sticks, like not stick drift, or in my opinion, like you have a console controller input without motion controls the stick is not never as precise as a mouse because you're limited by turn speed of the stick and waiting for that versus mouse you can just flick so in my mind I'm like okay they improve the power this is going to be a crazy improvement with DLSS and everything like that and then precision like imagine being portable but precise. Like, you have this mouse input, and it is technically, whether or not people will use it or not, precise. You have this mouse input, which allows you to be very, very accurate. And it's not just for shooters or Splatoon, which I think will have perhaps the greatest impact on people who didn't want to use motion controls, didn't like how imprecise the controller was, can now just, traditional shooter players will be able to kind of approach the game in a lot better of a way. But also from your action standpoint, like, instead of, like, this is what I was talking about Moise with earlier today, was instead of like having to be very broad and like cycle through menus because you can't go directly to what you want with a mouse, you can go directly to what you want and click on it. So you get to be very precise in that way as well, not just with like your shooting accuracy, but what you select. So I don't think it's going to be every title. I don't think it's going to necessarily be something that they kind of like hinge every game off of, like they kind of did with the Wii's motion controls. But I do think it's going to be a feature that benefits certain titles immensely well, and it's going to be something that people generally like. I mean, the Switch didn't have an internet browser, right? There was ways to get to one, but it didn't really have one. The Wii U did, the 3DS did, so maybe this is another sort of part of that, of them getting back towards that. But yeah, I just think that for like a lot of RPGs or sim games or stuff like where you're like looking over a map and you need to click on units and stuff like that, that it is going to end up being very helpful. It might not be to the extent that you're like, wow, this is amazing after the first year of using it, but I think it is something that's you're going to like look back on and be like, wow, like I used to play and I used to have to like clunk through these menus, and now I can just get to where I want. So that was a long-winded rant. I don't think it's going to be for everybody. I think you're absolutely right to point out, like, in what scenarios is this like realistic to be used? Tabletop environments, pretty much. That's it. And so that it's interesting to see how they try and work around that. I'm hoping they have some silly Nintendo mouse pad or something. I don't really know what they're gonna do, but yeah, I think you're totally valid to be, how useful is it. But the thing for me is like, and I don't think we want to get into this rant on this episode. I thought it was gonna be short, but we've actually already hit over an hour. But like, you need to. I'm sure you guys remember one of my legendary like rants about putting the mouse in the console. So for audience reference, I was very much trying to see how we could get away from having aim assist and how we could give console users the precision of mouse and keyboard. So, in terms of predictions, I was kind of on the money here. And so I was like, why don't they just put the mouse in the box? Because the arguments that were sort of being made were like, well, like people just don't have one. Like you'd have to go out of your way to buy one separately and all this stuff. So from my perspective of that whole legendary argument, I'm like, they're making sure that you guys have one from day one, that everybody has access to it. So whether or not you choose to use it or whether or not the game utilizes it at a user level, they know everybody has one. So for me, that's what I like to see, and that's what's good about it. It's like it's not going to be some later attachment that some people have or something that people use because they bought it separately and they feel like it gives them an advantage. Everybody's going to have access to it, and it's going to be up to the software developers to see how much it gets leveraged. But yeah, that's the mouse. I guess the next thing we can talk about before I go on my, I'll try and condense it because we have been going for a while, but my I predicted this rant is the C button, which is kind of connected to my rant. But what do you guys think this mysterious C button is going to actually be called, and what do you think it's going to do? I will go first, and I'll be brief. I think it is most likely, 99% in my mind, it's going to be called Kinect, because I believe Nintendo likes having multi-purpose sort of definitions behind words, and I think that based on my other prediction I'll show later of its functionality, I think they are going to have some sort of, it's going to be almost context-based, I think it's going to be not just to connect to voice, or if you think about it, like connecting to other people, like, oh, you connect through voice chat or through messaging. I also think it's going to be my big prediction that I predicted back in 2024, which I think is going to be correct on Wednesday, and now everybody else is starting to guess it too, is that you're going to be able to connect to a second screen, or basically beam your video audio info from your Switch to the dock, which puts it on the TV. So I think it's going to be called the Kinect button. I think it's going to have basically just two general functions of connecting to the TV or to other sort of peripherals, and connecting to like voice chat, depending on the context. And I think if it's not called Kinect, my 1% is it would be called Cast, but I don't think Cast covers like I'm trying to be very like precise with my words here. Kinect kind of works in both a voice chat communication sense and in a connecting with your to the TV sense. Whereas I feel like you only really work for the TV sense when you're in the cast button. So that's why I think it's going to be Connect. That's what I've thought since January or whenever it was initially kind of teased. Moises, Tyler, you guys have any predictions?
The C button, honestly, I'm gonna follow you on this one. I got zero zip predictions for the C button. I have no idea what that thing is used for, besides what you said already.
Moises?
Yeah, I mean, for me, the only other thing, because like honestly, I feel like it's kind of still a crack theory on your end. Like it's like obviously you're saying that you're seeing more people talk about it. I still am not really convinced that we're really gonna see like some sort of second screen or whatever. However that would work, I don't know. But I like because you've already given me that idea. It's hard to think about what else it could be. Because what else could that button be used for to give like some sort of shortcut to some other thing? Like I don't know, connect like maybe some related to some new social like fake not Meverse, whatever they use
Yeah.
to some sort of sharing related thing, possibly. I don't know. That's the only thing I can really think of.
What if it's a button that extends the screen? Like what if its standard mode is locked, right? You press that button, it lets you like a scroll unroll, not unroll, but like extend the Switch screen,
That would be
and
crazy.
then
I
Yo,
don't know if
that'd
it's
and
be
then
physically
that's how you get the
possible with
double.
what they showed so far,
That's how you get the double.
but I can see it. All right, so we're reaching the end here. I just put up on screen. I put up the screenshot. I'm gonna read it aloud. It's a bit of a wordful because I go on rants, but this is from May 10th, 2024. Chat. Just to be very clear, this is gonna be my crazy rant here, but I think the most heavily rumored gimmick that seems definitive is quote unquote attach or magnetic Joy-Cons and other attachments that physically attach to the Switch. Now, to be clear, at this point in time, the Nintendo Attach had been a Google advertisement like survey selection, and that's where that came from. And the magnetic Joy-Cons people were pretty confident about for a long time. So none of that is really like where I'm feeling I predicted things. This is where I kind of come into it. In terms of personal speculation, I keep coming back to how they might achieve dual screens again, which would enable them to give virtual console access to their massive library of DS and 3DS games. Now, to kind of qualify that statement, obviously it might not be like virtual console how we remember it from the old days. It might just be like NSO, but my thinking was trying to think of like Nintendo, like we have so many games that we coded with two screens in mind, and without having to put in a lot of effort to remaster them or make them work for one screen or whatever, what they could do is get a second screen back. So I started thinking, how are they going to do that? And so I mentioned this towards the beginning, but initially you think of the Switch as like the conclusion to the Wii U. Like we're trying to get something you can take with you that keeps the power of the console, and then we put the console inside of the tablet so that you can do that. But now you need to think of a scenario where you want to get stuff back to the TV but still be able to take it with you anywhere. So that's kind of where this thinking came from. So I said, I'm wondering if we'll see a technical evolution of the dock, such that when a Switch is placed in the dock, it is attached or paired or connected to that Switch, such that when a Switch is taken out of said dock, it can beam video audio info to the dock, which can pass it along as HDMI out to the monitor or TV so that a dual screen is achieved. Think of it as a reverse Wii U. So you can see right there, May 10th, 2024, think of it as a reverse Wii U. And in the last month, whether it ends up being accurate on Wednesday or not, a lot of people have started to say, oh, this is what it's going to be. Think of a reverse Wii U. I actually saw that verbiage exactly like a week ago. So, anyways, so then I say, we maintain the ability to take the console with you anywhere, but also have dual screen functionality for certain titles or virtual console. So, like, there's no concession now. You can still have dual screens, but you still get it with you wherever you want. And then, obviously, the main drawback to this, because I do have a bit of a game development background, I'm always trying to think of what's not working here. It's latency. Obviously, sending video or audio from the main console that you're holding to the TV, there's going to be some level of latency or delay between that. it doesn't need to be super significant, but it is something I try to think about. And so for me, that means that that would probably only apply to or mostly apply to like virtual console titles that, or sort of non-competitive titles. So if you're playing, I'm trying to think of a good example. If you're playing Pokemon White on NSO on your Switch 2, which I'm not saying is going to happen because we didn't even get the original Pokemon games, but let's just say that you're not having any sort of real-time action and response that requires you to need no latency. But if you were to put like Smash Bros and then you were to introduce that latency, then it would be more of a concern. So I'm thinking this would basically just be kind of like they already had it for the Wii U when they would use both, like non-competitive titles, Mario Party minigame, optional map functionality for Zelda, or something like Splatoon required it, but that one kind of dances the line a bit because it is a competitive casual, whatever you want to say, for that, but it is taken competitively. So yeah, that was my prediction, and I this is my thing. I have full faith in. I think this is going to happen. I think there are other branches of thought and other towards this that I'll mention quickly. There's also things that I'm not remembering right now that I wish I would, so I could kind of put them up here and just say this is what I'm predicting. But another aspect of this is, and I think this might have come up recently too. It's like, I've also wanted to think like they have such a large install base of Switch 1 consoles. I don't have the exact figure pulled up. Moises or Tyler, you want to fact check me, but it's something like 150 million or somewhere around there. That is insane. That is some of the most sold consoles ever. So from a Nintendo perspective, you have to not only sell people on moving from that platform, and I think we've seen this with why they keep putting software on the Switch 1. Like, it's such an easy way to get money to sell towards that install base because there's so many people that even if a small percentage of them buy your game, it's still a large portion of the install base, stuff like that. But there's going to be a lot of Switches. There's going to be a lot of Switches left over if people do swap, right? So something that I think, and this actually goes in a through line, it goes all the way back to 2014 with Smash Bros. For the Wii U. The first time we saw, in my mind, or one of the first times or the major times that we saw the handheld and the home console division interact. Obviously, there was like the GameCube player and stuff like that, but the 3DS could be used. And I don't know, Moises, if you ever experienced this, but it could be used as a controller on the Wii U for Smash Brothers Wii U. So you could basically connect your 3DS to your Wii U and use your 3DS as
crazy.
a controller.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So in my line of thinking, we're going to have a lot of Switch 1s, which regardless of their internal capabilities, do have screens, and a lot of people have them. And so if it's not going to be in the configuration that I predicted here, which I think would be likely, I think the Switch 1's dock was there wasn't much in there. I think that they are going to beef it up a little bit. I do. So I think that this would be a way to do that so that it has like a video chip and it receives and it passes along, blah, blah, blah. Think about it like this, which is something I also considered and I think could happen, or both could happen, is you could take your Switch 1 and maybe there's like a Switch 2 app or something on there. They release an update so that you can use the Switch 1 as your bottom screen and the Switch 2 is still docked into the TV. And so there's no latency from a Switch 2 perspective. So that actually gets it back towards the latency of Wii U gamepad to Wii U, where if there's latency on the stuff that's going on your bottom screen, it's not as much of a big deal as the stuff that's on the top screen. So, yeah, I think that is a possibility as well, a significant possibility of using your Switch 1s to connect to the Switch 2 as the bottom screen. Because there's a lot of those laying around. So that wraps up my crackpot long-winded rant. But as you guys can see here, if something crazy happens on Wednesday like that, there was somebody out there who was thinking about it. So that's my and if it doesn't if it doesn't happen, you can be sure that Moises will give me a lot of shit next episode. So
oh yeah.
So but I'm feeling really confident. So what do you guys think about that, Tyler and Moises? Do you think it's likely? Have you guys bought into my crackpot theory? What do you guys think?
Well, let me say real quick, as you were saying that, I was like, dang, I need to reuse the Switch 1. I look over to where my Switch 1 is, because I have a stand, right? I have a multi-layered stand for my TV, and the Switch is usually like perma-docked. I don't touch that thing on the bottom, basically shelf. But recently, my brother, he took my dock and put it in the living room for the TV over there for his Switch. And so my Switch is basically just laying down on his back, catching mad dust. I haven't touched it, but You know, you do have some good theories, and every once in a million years you do hit. So
Yeah.
I'm buying into it.
I gotta pull up the screenshot sometime because I also called the Cap Hammer in Endgame. I did call that one, and that was on our previous server, so I had to try to find that.
But that's such an easy call. Like that was
Was it?
already
Was it?
handed
Because
to
the
us.
hammer was
Let's not get
gone.
into it.
The
Let's
hammer
not
was
get into that.
gone.
Let's not get into that.
The hammer was gone, and I called it, and I also called that he would bang it against the shield as a callback all the way to Avengers 1 when the hammer hits the shield and it does like the mini surge with. Anyways, well, another pod. Moises, what do you think about my Switch 2 prediction?
Listen, would I love another way to play these games without having to go back to those old consoles? Yes, I 100% would. Now, do I like the idea of it just being like Nintendo Switch Online vibes?
I don't. Yeah, I don't. To be clear, I don't want that to be the case. I'm not really predicting around how it's going to show up. I'm just saying that the current virtual console stuff has been NSO. My prediction wasn't to that end. It was more just like how it's going to be.
Yeah. Listen, am I bought in all the way? No.
Okay.
But you know what, man? I'm here. I'm here to support you.
All right.
I'm here to support the grind. I'm here for the come up, and I'm here to say that I've always held you down from the jump if it comes true. So, at the end of the day, we're here to see what happens.
All right, sounds good. So the only thing we didn't really do is we talked a little, but I feel like we talked about what we want to see in the software lineup. What are you guys expecting to see? I'll say real quick, Mario Kart 9 is going to be there. I think the new 3D Mario is going to be there. And then my more crackpot, I think Splatoon 4 will get announced or teased. It's really big in Japan. I like the game, obviously. I think it's big here. It's their most successful like new IP. ARMS obviously was not as successful as they probably wanted it to be. Shout out to Mr. Ibuki though. Shout outs to him. Love that guy. But yeah, I also did want to mention, I didn't even mention this at the beginning. Maybe I should have. I'm going to be playing the Switch 2 and presumably whatever titles they announce this Friday. I'm going to be one of the first because I got like the first slot that they have at the New York setup. So I will be playing that. And next podcast episode, I will definitely be letting you all know what I think. So
yes, sir.
That's gonna be an announcement. But yeah, what else do you guys think? Mario Kart. I think everybody here could probably agree. New 3D Mario. It's been 8 years. I think my crackpot. I'm gonna say Ocarina of Time 4K. My hope is we actually get the Wind Waker Twilight Princess ports. And maybe the reason that they held off is because they didn't want to like say HD remastered and they just want to slap like a 4K on there now because they can now. I think it's going to be 4K. I guess we didn't really talk about this. I'm pretty sure the Switch is going to output 4K. Is it always going to like render 4K in the game? Probably not. But or even after it's been upscaled by DLSS, maybe not. Maybe. Yeah. So I think Twilight Princess, Wind Waker 4K. I hope. I think Ocarina of Time would be like remake would be sort of out of left field, but like you've seen how many fan projects there have been about that, and I know that Aonuma knows like that there's interest in something like that, so that would be a pretty big one. I'm trying to think of anything else. I think the next Monolith Soft title, whether it's Xenoblade 4 or something else, I think it's gonna get. I'm just kind of going off January 2017 right now. I think that's gonna get announced. I think there's gonna be a lot of Square Enix support. I think we're gonna see Final Fantasy VII shown off there, remake, rebirth, maybe too. That's where my mind's at. Like I think all the big AAA titles that didn't make it to the Switch 1, I think that's gonna be their big like showstopper. Like, hey, look, we're getting even more third party support. Call of Duty, that agreement we've known about, that's definitely gonna show up there. I think Elden Ring will probably show up because I think Elden Ring in my mind is like the Skyrim of the Switch 1 announcement. Like, oh, you didn't think this could show up. But from Nintendo, yeah, like Splatoon 4, 3D Mario Kart 9, I feel like are like safe locks. The Zelda stuff, I hope. I think one of them will occur at least, and then I hope that a Smash Brothers is announced. I feel like Moises knows how insufferable, and I guess Tyler does too, how insufferable I can be during a Smash hype cycle, and that's just because I love it. But I've tried to not be that to them recently because I don't want to become that for them right now, but I kind of think it's gonna happen because it just feels like it to me. I'm really like in my mind. I'm like, are they just going to follow the same thing they did with the Switch one and we wait a year? Or are they going to be on it? I mean, I followed Sakurai's YouTube channel. He said he's been working on something for a while. Like I think 2022, late 2022 at least he's been working on something. So I could see it happening this year. But that's it. I mean, there's not, new F-Zero would be cool. There's like stuff I could say that would be cool, but I'm not really like in my mind on it. And for Tyler's sake, I'll say Kid Icarus. All right, that's it for me. What about you guys?
Smash, Mario Kart. Those are the easy ones. Here's my absolutely diabolical plan, right? So they brought Mortal Kombat to the Switch, however long ago that was, and it looked horrible, right? But the game came to Switch. What if somehow NetherRealm and Nintendo partnered up and then boom, guess what? Injustice 3 with Beast Boy. Okay? Beast Boy is a Switch exclusive. I'd get that day.
Is he voiced by Greg Sipes?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I'm in. I'm sold on the vision, Tyler. I'm sold.
All right.
Other than that, standard Switch.
This is what I need to see. Fire Emblem new game. Listen.
4 houses.
The fabled Genealogy remake is not real.
It's real.
It doesn't exist. It never existed. It's been thrown about for years now. It's not real.
It's as real as the Twilight Princess Wind Waker.
It's not time for Genealogy. It's the streets are not ready for the epicness of the 2 generations of family and war that Genealogy of the Holy War has to bring. But the next Fire Emblem game will be shown on Wednesday. That I know for certain.
I like that.
Beyond that, like Kenny was saying, definitely it's going to be a lot of third-party stuff. A lot of it's Switch 2 time now, baby. Like, where we're showing we can bring even more heat than you thought we could have on the OG Switch. Beyond that, obviously Mario Kart 9. I'm intrigued by the thought of something Zelda-related having to be there. Like, I feel like Zelda is now intrinsically connected to the release of the Switch because of Breath of the Wild.
Yes.
So there has to be a Zelda mention during that. I'm not sure if it'll be what exactly it'll be, but it has to be something.
I'll say this now. I forgot to mention it. I'm locking these in because I'm locking the first one in. I'm going halvesies on the next 2. I think Silksong 1000% is going to be there. I think Silksong is happening. I played Hollow Knight. I love Hollow Knight. I think it's a great game. I'm not the Hollow Knight. Moises is more of the Hollow Knight and I think another person we interact with. They are very much like Hollow Knight truthers almost. They're like no matter what, that would do it for them. That's not where I am. Like if it's there, it's great. If it's not there,
Hollow Knight sucks.
But Tyler hates Hollow Knight. We can say that for another pod. But Silksong, I think 1000% is going to be there. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I could be wrong, but I believe it was originally shown in a Nintendo Direct. I think I checked 2019. So I know it's been a long time, and I know other fans are waiting in anticipation for Team Cherry to say something. I think that Nintendo could have gone to them and just been like, hey, you were one of the most successful indies on our initial console. We would love for you to be in the Switch 2 showcase. Imagine being asked by Nintendo to get shown off in their premier console showcase. I think Team Cherry could have said yes. And so I think they might be done with the game. And I think they might have just been waiting for the Switch 2 launch in a sense. And now that it's ready, I think it's going to be a very quick Silksong announced to release. Whether Nintendo got some non-PC exclusivity is a different question. I don't know. But I think it is going to be in there. I think it is going to be coming pretty much by launch. And then I also wanted the other 2 things were where I'm going halvesies are. I'm going halvesies on Deltarune because I think that's a similar situation where Toby Fox seems to have a pretty good relationship with Nintendo. He's obviously inspired by Earthbound, blah, blah, blah. And I know that Nintendo knows how well Undertale did, and they might be like, hey. But also, I think, and this one I'm a little more confident than Deltarune, I know the second one didn't sell that well. I know that the CEO kind of implied there might be a Switch 2 version all the way back when, but I think we might get another Mario Rabbids Kingdom battle situation going on. And I know that the Moises
Go.
loves those games. So I think we might have a chance there. I'm
Let's
not going to lie.
go.
That's it.
All right.
Well,
with
I'm
it.
sure there will be other things I think about later that I forgot to say and predictions I forgot to lock in here to show, but um I guess that pretty much wraps up our main discussion. I'm impressed. I mean, that we've been going about 90 minutes now, so I thought it was gonna be 20. I was completely wrong. But I guess that shows that we can really we got a lot to talk about. And
We know how to yap.
yeah, yeah. And so I do want to just take a minute or two, as best we can, to just say future episodes. The format could drastically change from what you've seen here today. I think Moises and Tyler are planning, if they can, to try and get something like in person going, and I'll be like a virtual guest. So I'll be kind of just on Discord while they're in person. And so the format's going to change as we kind of experiment and figure things out. And we did focus. It was a special episode, first episode. We're just talking about Switch 2, but future episodes will comprise a variety of topics. I mean, right now we're all watching Daredevil together, so you can definitely expect us to be talking about that and how it's fallen. I think we're also hoping to talk about Invincible season 3, and also maybe seasons 2 and 1, depending on where Moises has to catch up from. So just expect like TV shows and films and things to change and adapt as we move forward. I think it would be great if we get to a point where we know what we're going to talk about next episode ahead of time, and we can let you viewers know, hey, if you want to like follow into the discussion, you can watch this for next week or whatever. But to do that right now, I would say watch the next episode of Daredevil coming out tomorrow, but because we'll definitely be talking about that. But yeah, anything else, Tyler, Moises, you guys want to say?
This has been a great first episode, honestly. I didn't think I'd last this long in Nintendo talk, but here we are. I finally did it. Episode 1. I'm very excited for the future of our podcast. I'm excited to see how much we grow. You guys are two of my closest friends, and I know this will only bring us closer, so I'm excited.
Wow. What a beautiful thing to say, because to be honest, I was gonna throw shade at you with my comment, but
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
it's okay because the streets will get to know me as well here, and I have a lot of love to give, but I also have a lot of hate to give as well.
We got
His brother
we
is
got
the
the cycle
century.
of violence coming up in a couple of weeks, so
Oh yes, sir.
we'll have a lot
You
of
cannot have the century without the void.
Amen. So listen, first of all, Silk Song is not real. That's number one. That's my first message. Silk Song is not a real game. It's government propaganda to distract you from the fact of all the evils and atrocities that are going on in our world. Number two, if you thought that Tyler didn't speak much today, boy, you are mistaken. Just wait till upcoming. Just wait till the future.
Just wait till there's something I know
wait till we're
too
talking about
much
God of
about.
War, bro. Wait till we're talking about God of
Like,
War.
just wait.
Or
Because
Marvel Rivals. Marvel Rivals,
he got
bro.
he got things to say. So just wait on it. And three, this has been a goated first episode. We locked in on Nintendo. Excited to see what the future is gonna hold. Hopefully a lot of good things. Hopefully the next time we talk about the Switch, we're talking about the Switch 2 coming soon into our hands with goated new games coming, goated continuations of our favorite franchises. And come on, Nintendo's low key always on top of sale in terms of sales, but I want a time where Nintendo's just at the top. No excuses, no ifs, ands, or buts, just straight quality gameplay and content coming from them. So all we can do now is wait and see, but that's what I hold in my heart.
Amen, bro.
I can have love in my heart, and I hope that they can help this love come to fruition. Cause I'll switch up on them again real quick. Like don't get it twisted.
Switch up on them like Nintendo.
That's facts.
Nah, and I think to Moises' point, even if you are somebody who is not a Nintendo fan, and I don't know how you made it through this episode if you aren't, but even if you aren't, I will say this: if Nintendo is on top and they're primarily focused on making quality games, which I believe they are, it will only be good for everybody else on every other platform, because competition is the best. And if Sony and Xbox see, oh, the Switch is releasing multiple titles per franchise on one console generation, or they're actually releasing titles on a franchise in that console generation. No shade, no hate. I have a PlayStation 5, but it needs to be said. Perhaps they will start thinking less about the highest graphical fidelity possible and more about, okay, what's a fun game and what's our scope to get this out so our players have something in their hands before they're suffering midlife crises. So I will say that. I will say, I forgot to mention, I happened to potentially pass by Doug Bowser today, so maybe there is some energy carrying there into this.
Oh, brother.
But yeah, that's what I got. It was an honor to co-host this first episode alongside Moises and Tyler, and I hope this is just one of many in the future. So thanks for listening, everybody. Bye.
Thank you.
Peace.
Bye.